Please.
Good evening, everybody. We welcome everybody to the third webinar on auditing standards this year. Our today's webinar will be taken by none other than CA Durgesh Kabra. As you all know, he is the CCM of our ICAI. Just before the brief introduction of the sir, let me remind you that please keep your webcams and mics on mute so that we do not disturb the speaker. Questions can be taken at the end. I would request everybody, if there are any questions, we can just post it on the chat and we will take up at the end of the session. As you all are aware that we record the session and we post it on YouTube. Anybody who wants to see this lecture or any other previous webinars, you can just go to our YouTube channel, Ghatkopar Study Circle, and view all the recordings. Just to give a brief introduction of our today's speaker, we are obliged that he is here to take the webinar on auditing standards. CA Durgesh Kabra is currently the convener of Center for Audit Quality, Vice Chairman, Corporate Laws and Corporate Governance Committee, Vice Chairman, Sustainability Reports Standard Board, and is also a member of Quality Review Board. CA Durgesh Kumar Kabra is a senior member having an extensive experience of more than 30 years in company law, corporate structuring, management advisory, audit assurance services. Besides being an outstanding practicing member, he has also held key positions with WIRC and making valuable contribution to the members and students fraternity alike. During his chairmanship in 2013, WIRC received many awards, including the Best Regional Council Award, Best Students Association Award, and various other awards at the branch level. He is an avid speaker and expert on law, bankruptcy code. He has addressed more than 150 seminars across various forums on company law, LLP, and in IB code. He has also been a regular contributor to the WIRC reference manual. He has conceptualized and implemented many initiatives at WIRC, such as knowledge sharing forum for members, the video profiling of members in industries to facilitate ease access to the employment. He has associations with many other committees of ICI, including Public Relation Group. He is a deputy convener of 1920, Vice Chairman of the Board of Studies, ICI 1920, a member of Standing Committee on Examinations, Director of Indian Institute of Insolvency Professionals of ICI, and member of Board of Disciplinary, Bench 1, and many other committees across auditing standards, direct tax, and international affairs. With this brief introduction, we welcome today our speaker, CA Durgesh Kabra, and I would request CA Durgesh Kabra to share his presentation and to continue with the lecture.
Thank you, Charvik, and thanks to Bhavin also for inviting me to the Ghatkopar CP Study Circle for sharing my knowledge on the standards on auditing. Friends, it is very important for all of us to know about the standards on auditing. I'll start with the screen. Is it visible? Hello? The screen is visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible. So you can put it.
So, friends, pardon?
No, nothing, sir. Please continue.
Charuk, you're telling something?
No, please.
It's okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So friends, thanks to the Ghatkopar City Study Circle for inviting me, more specifically to both the convener and deputy convener, Charvik and Bhavin, for my views and my sharing of knowledge to the extent what I possess on the standards on auditing, which is more in case of more specifically on SA 230, SA 505 and 580. Friends, as we all know that standards on auditing is very important for all of us. What has happened normally in case of our audit and assurance practice or other kind of practice, what we have thought, what we have focused always is more on the income tax, GST, VAT, and some other areas wherever it was possible. But our focus on the audit was comparatively very less. Though for all of us, we all know that the audit is the main thing for all of us. We are because of audit, we are because of Companies Act, we are because of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, because our institute has come into an existence because of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, then Ministry of Company Law at that point of time, but today it is Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs again, it is because of Companies Act. And our focus on the Companies Act and its rules, regulations, and the various provisions. We are not so serious about the compliance of all those things. We are serious about the compliance of the income tax rules, regulations, and provisions, GST rules, regulations, and provisions, service tax rules, regulations, and provisions, or the earlier VAT rules, regulations, and provisions, but not of the Companies Act. But the friends, time has changed for all of us. We need to be serious enough with respect to the quality audit. If we do not perform our assurance and audit work with quality, friends, let me tell you, पिछले 15 सालों में जो हमने हमारे प्रोफेशन की इमेज को गिरते हुए देखा है कि because of only and only because of the deterioration in the quality audit, where our focus is less as compared to other kind of practice. And why I am telling so, that every then and now, if any fraud or any negative report comes with respect to any corporate entity in the financial reporting, then first finger is raised at the account, who is either auditor or the CFO or the chief accounts officer or even a chartered accountant who is CEO, and the action is being taken against that fellow. So my humble request to all of you is that we must adhere to what is being stated in the Companies Act, which has mandated the standards on auditing and accounting standards, on the basis of which the financial statement has to be made and audited. So this is what the requirement today. Friends, is compliance of auditing standards mandatory while audit? बिल्कुल एकदम हाँ, yes, it is mandatory. Section Section 143(9) speaks about this, that the accounting standard, following of the accounting standards and the standards on auditing is mandatory. For the purpose of preparation of the financial statement, one need to follow the accounting standards. That is, in case of corporate, two set of accounting standards. One is Ind AS and another one is accounting standards. Those are required to be followed by any corporate entity. And as far as the audit is concerned,
Durgesh sir,
audit
sorry
has
to
to be
disturb.
based on this. Yes.
Can you speak a little bit louder? Volume is low, little bit.
You want me to speak loud?
Yes.
You want me to speak loud? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. No problem. What I mean to say is that the financial statement has to be on the basis of the Ind AS or accounting standard, whichever is applicable to the company, because Ind AS is applicable to the listed companies and certain public interest enterprises, whereas to other corporate entities, the accounting standards are applicable. And the audit has to be always according to the standards on auditing. So, the compliance of auditing standard is mandatory while we are conducting the audit of the company. Now, friends, what are the basic requirement as to the financial statement? जो हमें ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए. So, Section 143(2) of the Companies Act deals with that an auditor shall make the report after taking into account the following things. And what are those following things? कि आपको और हमारे जब हम ऑडिट कर रहे हैं तो जो कंपनीज एक्ट है उसके सारे प्रोविजन का ध्यान रखना है. हमें अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स or auditing standards, whether these have been complied with properly or not. You have conducted the audit as per the auditing standards, and the financial statements are made on the basis of accounting standards. Has been done or not, that is to be properly checked by the auditor, and then the audit report is to be. Also, we need to whatever matter which are required for the purpose of our audit report as per the rules and orders under Section 143(11) of the Companies Act. As CARO and other things, those all are required to be included over. Then, ये जो सारी चीजें हैं वो हमारे best of information and knowledge के हिसाब से होंगी. Because we are watchdog, we are not bloodhound. Expert knowledge हर चीज में आपका होने चाहिए. So, to the best of our information and knowledge, that is what is required to be mentioned over there, and accordingly it has to be done, and the auditor has to report on after considering these 4-5 things which are there. I have told you that it is mandatory auditing standards. We need to follow all of them. Friends, how many auditing standards are there? Many of us doesn't know, and even if somebody knows in terms of the number, they do not know what are the names of those standards. And let me be very frank, unless and until I started talking on the subject, I have been made the convener and chief of the Center for Audit Quality. Then it became my duty and responsibility to first understand all the standards on auditing and talk about those things. Then only I can contribute to the betterment of quality of the audit, and some activities can be done at the Center for Audit Quality. The Mehul Shah of your study circle is contributing to the Center for Audit Quality. He has been made a member of one or two groups over there for creation of the background material or so. Is helping a lot to us over there. So friends, it is very important that we follow all the standards on auditing which are there. And let me tell you, today there are 46 standards on the audit. The first and foremost which is important is the SQC1, Standards on Quality Control 1, is very important. It tells you about all the procedures or SOPs which are required in the audit form. How you will control the quality of your assurance and audit work. All procedures are required to be penned down. Policies are required to be penned down. Which kind of client will be accepted? What kind of engagement letters will be there? Which kind of client will not be there? How you will decide on the quality of the client? How you will decide on the quality of the audit? What are the what are the steps to be taken by the engagement partners? What are the steps to be taken by the audit managers? And what are the steps to be taken by the engagement teams? All those procedures are written over there in this standards on quality control. So everything is defined over there. And let me tell you, being member of the Quality Review Board, which is under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, let me tell you that the maximum number of non-compliance are with respect to SQC1, and second with respect to the SA 580, and third is with respect to SA 315, which is under risk assessment by knowing the entity and environment of the entity. So these are the main standards on audit where the auditors are lacking and they are not complying with. Beyond these two, there is going concern, 260, 240, 240 fraud, 260 non-compliance with other laws, going concern 530, then 570, sorry. Then the other one is, so these are the audit evidences and audit documents. These are the other where some non-compliances are there and the auditors are looking. So friends, we need to comply with this standards on auditing. Take the example of today. 22 मार्च को हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जब देश को संबोधित किया था, तो उस समय कोरोना से बचने के लिए कुछ साधन बताए। पहला साधन 2 गज की दूरी, दूसरा मास्क, तीसरा जो है hand sanitizations are there. So these 3 kavach has been told by our Prime Minister that how we can get away with this pandemic or this disease of this virus in the pandemic period. And the person who has followed with these three things was or is safe. Is safe. I would not use the word was. Is safe. And no serious impact of the virus has taken place on that people. But even if something has happened, since he was following all these things as kavach, these kavach are protected. In the same way, my dear friends, my professional colleagues, the steps on auditings are the kavach for all of us. अगर हमने स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिटिंग को फॉलो नहीं किया है तो हमारी सुरक्षा नहीं है. ये कवच है हमारे, और हम अगर इनको फॉलो करेंगे प्रॉपर तरीके से तो हमारे अगेंस्ट में कोई भी डिसिप्लिन नहीं हो सकता. अदरवाइज देयर आर गुड चांसेस दैट देयर विल बी डिसिप्लिनरी एक्शन अगेंस्ट अस. So just to avoid those kind of situations where some disciplinary action takes place against us, let us focus on compliance with the standards on auditing while we are conducting the audit of our client. This is most important. So, मुझे आशा है कि आप अब जब भी कभी ऑडिट करेंगे आने वाले समय में इन सारे स्टैंडर्ड्स का ध्यान रखेंगे. और उस सब में छोटी छोटी बातें हैं, जैसे ये 3 छोटी चीजें ध्यान रख के आदमी कोरोना से बच रहा है, इतने बड़े पेंडेमिक से बच रहा है. ऐसे इन 46 स्टैंडर्ड्स में छोटी छोटी बातें हैं जिनको आपको ध्यान रखना है, और इसका नॉलेज आपको तो रखना ही है. बट with this you have to make your client also educated that these are the requirements, these are the mandated, these have been mandated by the act, and if we do not comply with this, you will be into trouble, I will be into trouble. Make him realize this. If you are in a position to make your client realize this, your client will understand and will give you whatever you want for the purpose of best presentation of the financial statement of theirs. That is what is required by all of us. कि हम जितने भी हमारे क्लाइंट हैं उनको प्रॉपर तरीके से एजुकेट करें ताकि हमारा जो काम है आसान हो जाए स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिटिंग पे. So I hope that these 46 standards which are there, we will continue to follow and will continue to understand what is there. And my thanks to the Ghatkopar CP for organizing the virtual CP meeting on standards on auditing, which is normally not happening. It shows that the importance towards the compliance of standards on auditing and audit quality is getting the momentum today. Everybody wants to know, because every then and now in the newspaper there is some news where some auditor is defaulter and he has been punished for some or other reason. And as we all know that every information is available on tip of button, हम अपने आप को बचा नहीं सकते अगर हम स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिटिंग और इनके अंदर जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन करने के लिए हमारे को बोला गया है उनको नहीं करेंगे. ये हमारे कवच है, इनको हमारे को कवच के रूप में देखना है, and then accordingly we can save ourselves. So let us begin with SA 230. We will start with this essay. So what is there in this? Essay 230 deals with the audit documentation, which normally treated or being known as that audit documentation provides the evidence that the audit complies with the standards on auditing. And this is also being stated in para A7 of essay 230. जो ऑडिट डॉक्यूमेंटेशन है वो हमारे लिए एक प्रूफ हो गया है कि हमने जितने भी स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिट हैं उसका कंप्लायंस किया है. हर स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिट को कंप्लाई करने के लिए हमारे पास में कोई न कोई ऑडिट डॉक्यूमेंट है. 46 जो स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं उसमें से जरूरी नहीं सारे आपको एप्लीकेबल हो रहे हैं. बहुत सी चीजें ऐसी हो सकती है, ब्रांच ऑडिट के ऊपर है, जॉइंट ऑडिट के ऊपर है, तो हो सकता है ही नहीं जॉइंट ऑडिटर तो आपको अप्लाई नहीं होगा, ब्रांच है ही नहीं तो ब्रांच ऑडिटर आपको अप्लाई नहीं होगा, अदर ऑडिटर्स रिपोर्ट की अगर कहीं जरूरत नहीं है तो वो आपको अप्लाई नहीं होगा. सो देयर कैन बी सम standards on auditing which is not required for all of you. If those kind of things are not happening, that can be accordingly seen and adjusted. So this proves that audit documentation is a compliance of the essay for all of us. What is the meaning of audit documentation? These are the reports of the audit procedure performed by us, relevant audit evidences obtained by us, and on the basis of performance of the audit procedures and after getting the audit evidences, what conclusion we have reached. It's a record of all these three audit documentation. In general way, it is also known as working papers or work papers, because जितने भी हम पेपर्स इकट्ठे करते हैं हमारी फाइल में रखते हैं, उनको हम पढ़ते हैं, समझते हैं, उसके बेसिस पे हम हमारा डिसीजन लेते हैं और हम हमारी रिपोर्ट बनाते हैं, ऑडिट कंक्लूजन को अराइव करते हैं. So that is what is known as the audit documentation. Why audit documentation is necessary? So audit documentation is necessary because this is an evidence of audit planning and performance as per the standards on auditing and legal requirements, legal regulations and law requirements. This also assists the engagement team for planning and supervision and effective conduct of the audit. आपके पास में proper documentations किए हुए हैं, so whichever team is going for conducting the audit, whether they are the experienced or new or they were engaged last year, if they goes there and you have the proper documentation in your file, by going to those documentation, you comes to know what exactly is to be planned, what exactly is to be supervised, and how effectively you will conduct the audit. All these things can be done. So it assists the this is an evidence for matters of continuing significance and helping for future audit. So suppose if the expert auditor have been appointed, then you have the documentation. These can be referred for the purpose of future also, whenever the need arises in future. So this is evidence for matters of continuing significance. These documents also assist in quality control review. So whatever control procedures are laid down over there, may I request some of the members who have just on the audio, please switch off the audio, whoever has on, or I request to just see and just switch off the audio. Then it also helps us in case of the external, if we need any external inspection or not. If we have taken the help of some external inspections last time and it is properly documented, whether it is required this time or not, or if it is required to what extent, we can accordingly decide. This is also evidence of basis for conclusion and reaching the overall objective of the audit. So, audit documentation, after all these four things are being done and all the audit documentations are created, this becomes the evidence for all of us in arriving on the conclusion for the purpose of our audit or for achievement of the objective of our audit. So these are the 5 major reasons for which the audit documentation is necessary for all of us when we are conducting the audit. This is how we are dealing with the SA 230 scope, objective, definition, requirements, application guidance, timely preparation of audit documentation, documentation of the audit procedure, perform audit evidence is obtained, assembly of the final audit file. So up to requirements, we have understood. Now we'll deal in detail to some extent. What is the scope? Scope of SA 230 says that it is the auditor's responsibility to prepare the audit documentation for the audit of the financial statement, and it is not the responsibility of the management or those charged with the governance. But normally होता है क्या है, हम ऑडिट करते हैं, जाते हैं, फिर हमको जो चाहिए वैसा हम बोल देते हैं भैया आप ये बना के देना, you just prepare this, give it to us, and they type it out, take the printout, sign it, and they give it to us. We keep it in our file. That's not the right way of doing things. You need to understand and you have to take while you are doing it. So it is auditor's responsibility to prepare the audit document and not of anybody else. Legal and regulatory requirement may impose additional documentation requirement. So what is important here is, in this case, that beyond the documentation which are required as per SA 230, if any other law and regulations provide the other documents, that will be the additional. आप उसको दोनों को कंबाइन करके साथ में दोनों के रिक्वायरमेंट को पूरा करना पड़ेगा. आपने ऐसे 230 में बना लिया इसलिए लॉ एंड रेगुलेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट को आप पूरा नहीं करेंगे, दैट इज नॉट गुड फॉर योर. Beside this, this is one essay, but there are 45 other essays. उनमें अगर किसी में कोई भी स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट है कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन के लिए, तो वो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन अलग से बनाना है आप. It will not restrict the other essays required. Because छोटी फर्म है, प्रोप्राइटरशिप कंसर्न है, और प्रोप्राइटरशिप कंसर्न ही आपकी ऑडिट फर्म में, प्रोप्राइटरशिप कंसर्न ही आपकी प्राइवेट लिमिटेड जो कंपनी है वो भी एकदम छोटी है, कोई ज्यादा एक्टिविटी नहीं है उसके अंदर, तो उस छोटी कंपनी के लिए रिक्वायरमेंट भी उतनी कम हो जाएगी, आपको डॉक्यूमेंट्स भी उतनी ही कम बनाने पड़ेंगे. दैट इज व्हाट इज said in SA 230 and provided in SA 230. ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या है, क्यों बनाना चाहिए ऑडिटर्स को डॉक्यूमेंटेशन अपने पास, why we should take. So the objective for the purpose of auditor is that you auditor has to prepare these documentation because it is sufficient and appropriate record of basis for the auditor's report. One. And these are the evidence that the audit was planned and performed in accordance with the standards on auditing and law and regulations. What is the meaning of audit file? Audit file is one or more folder or other storage media in physical or electronic form containing records that comprise audit documentation for specific engagements. So friends, these are the main thing. Audit file can be in the physical form as well as on the electronic form, and this comprises the reports with respect to the specific engagement of the audit. This is what is the audit. कि हम जो ऑडिट कर रहे हैं उसको उससे रिलेटेड जो भी डॉक्यूमेंट्स है उसको इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया या फिजिकल फॉर्म में इकट्ठा करना है. दैट इज नोन एज द ऑडिट फाइल फॉर ऑल ऑफ. ये सारी जनरल बातें हैं, मुझे बतानी पड़ रही है, बोल रहा हूँ, और ये बोलने से हमेशा हम लोगों को ध्यान दिया जाती है. आई जस्ट वांट टू यूज द वेरी सिंपल लैंग्वेज. आई एम नॉट गोइंग इनटू द टेक्निकल लैंग्वेज ऑफ ऑल दीस थिंग्स. बिकॉज़ टेक्निकल लैंग्वेज here, what is more important is the practical language than the technical language. हमको practically करना क्या है audit करते हो, that is most important rather than what is written in the technical words in the auditing standards. So we need to understand what is the requirement and how we should follow all those requirements so we can save ourselves by using this as a coverage for all of us. So timely preparation is again very important for all of us, that the documentation has to be prepared timely. The auditor shall prepare the audit documentation on timely basis. It shall be before the audit report is finalized. It should never be after the audit report is finalized. Try to say this, because if you are doing it before the audit report is finalized, it is going to be the most reliable. If it is after the audit report is finalized, then the accuracy will always be less as compared to what is being done while you are finalizing or before you are finalizing. So timely preparation of audit documentation is very important because it enhances the quality of audit. It also facilitates the effective review and evaluation of the audit evidences, and it helps and it gives you the accurate picture. अगर ये डिले हो गया तो आपको एक्यूरेसी नहीं मिलेगी, देन इट विल बी ओनली अ फॉर्मेलिटी, क्योंकि आपकी प्रायोरिटी भी चेंज हो जाएगी, कंपनी जिसका आप ऑडिट कर रहे हैं उसकी प्रायोरिटी भी चेंज हो जाएगी. आप भी जैसे तैसे पेपर बने वो पेपर इकट्ठा करके अपनी फाइल में रखने में विश्वास करेंगे. सो दिस इज नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प यू. सो इम्पोर्टेंट इज दैट यू शुड टेक ऑल द डॉक्यूमेंट्स बिफोर द ऑडिट रिपोर्ट इज फाइनलाइज्ड. You should take or create or keep in the file and keep in the file. Documents of the audit procedure performed and audit evidences plan. See, auditor shall prepare audit documentation that is sufficient to enable an experienced auditor having no previous connections with the audit to understand. Sorry. See, sir, as I told you earlier also, every year you have to go for the audit. Sometimes what happened, we are having one chartered accountant in the office. He left, then we have to have another chartered accountant appointed or another audit manager appointed, and who is experienced one, and he goes for the audit. Now, when you are appointing the experienced chartered accountant who is being known as experienced auditor, so your audit document should be kept in such a position, or these audit documents should help him to understand that the nature, timing and extent of audit procedures to comply with the SA and LR, what is going to be the result of audit procedures and audit evidences obtained, and which are the significant matters, conclusions their own, and significant professional judgment with respect to the conclusions. If the experienced auditor understand all these things by going through the documents maintained by you, then these are the proper audit evidences. Otherwise, these are not. Who is experienced auditor? An individual. He may be internal or external to the firm. हमारे यहाँ employee हो सकता है या बाहर का भी हो सकता है, जिसको हम assignment पे दे दिए हैं. Having practical audit experience and a reasonable understanding of what board things, audit process, standards on audit and applicable law and regulations requirement, business environment, auditing and financial reporting issues. So, friends, these 4 things are very important for the experienced auditor. उसको मालूम होना चाहिए कि किस प्रकार के ऑडिट प्रोसेसेस हैं तो लास्ट ईयर ये थे, अभी वापस फॉलो करने हैं या उसमें क्या चेंजेस हैं. उसको स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिटिंग का और क्या लॉ एंड रेगुलेशंस एप्लीकेबल है उसका नॉलेज होना चाहिए. बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट क्या, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट इज देयर. So knowledge of entity and knowledge of business environment of that particular client has to be there. If he doesn't know what are the sales procedures, what are the purchase procedures, what is the production process, what is the WIP, if he doesn't understand all those things, then it will be very difficult for him to conduct the audit. Normally, हम लोग क्या करते हैं, एक सीनियर के साथ में जूनियर को बैठते हैं, जूनियर उसको खाली इतना बताता है तो इसको चेक कर, उसको चेक कर. उसको कभी नहीं सिखाया जाता है कि भैया तू यहाँ के सारे प्रोसीजर पढ़ और इस प्रोसीजर को समझ, वहाँ सारा इंटरनल फाइनेंशियल कंट्रोल सिस्टम है या नहीं है. सो बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट को अंडरस्टैंड करना बहुत जरूरी है. इफ यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड द बिजनेस एक्टिविटी ऑफ द कंपनी एंड एंटिटी इन टोटो, then you will not be able to do the audit in a proper way. And auditing and financial reporting issues is also required to be understood. What should be the form, content and extent of the documentation? It will depend on size, complexity of the entity. क्या size है कंपनी का, कितनी complexity है उसकी वर्किंग में, उसकी बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट में, वो सारी चीजों पे आपका डिपेंड करेगा कि आपको क्या, आपके डॉक्यूमेंट्स की क्या फॉर्म होनी चाहिए, क्या कंटेंट होना चाहिए, क्या, to what extent the documentations are required to be kept by you and prepared by you. While understanding this, you also need to know about the identified risk of misstatement. If there is any identified risk of misstatement, material misstatement, then what kind of documents should be there with you and what should be the extent and in which form, you need to understand that also. And accordingly, it has to be kept with you. What kind of audit procedures you have performed, उसकी फॉर्म, कंटेंट एंड एक्सटेंट भी आपको डॉक्यूमेंट करनी चाहिए. भाई आप इस सेल्स के लिए इस तरीके से ऑडिट कर रहे हैं, परचेज के लिए ये पॉइंट को ध्यान रख रहे हैं, आप डेटर्स क्रेडिटर्स नोट बना रहे हैं, डेबिट नोट क्रेडिट नोट बना रहे हैं, तो these procedures you are following in checking all those things. So all those are required to be done and kept and documented by you. Significance of audit evidences. Audit evidences which you are keeping. Audit documents are ultimately an audit evidence. An audit evidence which you are keeping with you, whether these are significant to your audit or not, and your finding or not, that is important. And accordingly, it has to be kept with you. Audit methodology and tools used. आपने क्या मेथड यूज किए हैं, आपने क्या प्रोसीजर्स यूज किए हैं और कौन से टूल्स आपने यूज किए हैं ऑडिट करने में. That is also will help you that what kind of documents you should prepare. There are some tools. If you have conducted the audit on the basis of those tools, it generates the documents automatically when you are using those tools, which are based on idea and so. And hopefully next year we will be in a position to provide you the audit tool from the ICAI which will help all the small and medium practitioners. That too at a very either free of cost or at a very nominal cost. Nominal cost means it will be a maintenance charge per year will be taken from. Nature, extent of identified exceptions during the audit. Agar koi there is any identified exceptions which is there during the audit which you came across, then the nature of that has to be just standardized, and on the basis of that, you have to keep the documentation with you. See here, auditors need to use his judgment for the purpose of keeping the documentation and giving its opinion. So what exactly is to be done by the auditor is the matters that gives rise to significant risk. The auditor need to perform the procedures that indicate the material misstatement, and if when the procedures have been performed, if some corrective actions have been taken, fine, but there are some difficulties and you cannot apply them properly, then you have to modify your audit opinion. There will be a possible situation which will require to modify the audit opinion, and there you have to use your professional judgment. That is the requirement. Then the significant matter that in continuation of that, when you are conducting your audit, then your rationale for conclusion of auditor's report, if it is significant to audit, then you have to be very specific on arriving on the basis of conclusion on the reasonableness of the areas of the subjective judgment. And friends, when you decide on this, then your basis for conclusion of authenticity of document, when authenticity is in doubt, क्या होगा आपका? You have to refer SF500, which is the audit evidences. ये आपके पास में क्या audit evidence होना चाहिए जहाँ authenticity doubt में है, आपको किस type का audit evidence दिखा देगा. And when you feel there is a doubt, then which is not affecting the financial statement in a negative way, then as per SS 701, which will become applicable, the auditor's determination of the key audit matters or the determination that there are no key audit matters to be communicated properly. कि उसका effect क्या आ रहा है? Auditors key audit matters is to be judged and accordingly to be mentioned. And key audit matters are applied to all the listed entities and not to anybody else. But in case of even other private limited companies or limited companies which are not listed entities, wherever you feel, though specifically it has not mentioned anywhere, but if you feel so, then it is always better to give key audit matters in case of the private limited companies and other unlisted companies too. In certain cases, you need to have the specific documentation and there are some aspects which are required to be taken care of by you. When some documents are required for specific things, then what exactly you need to do is that if there is any inconsistency or so with the management and those charged with governance, then you need to discuss all those things with the management and those charged with governance about the matters that are inconsistent with the final conclusion, and if there is any departure with the requirement of standards on auditing. And after discussing all those, whatever matters arising after the date of audit report, say 560, with respect to the characteristics of the item tested, name of the person who performed the testing, date of the completion of the testing, and person reviewed the testing and extent of review. All these are required to be mentioned by you, and in the all these are required to be documented by you in your file. What you need to do in case of the smaller entities audit documentation for the audits of smaller entities are very less or generally less extensive. No documentations required for the team discussion or supervision. As I told you, that engagement team, no documentation required because smaller entity, smaller team, so it is not required. However, the experienced auditor's condition will still applicable. Meaning of the smaller entity, meaning what is the meaning? Possessing the qualitative characteristics as concentration of ownership and management is in a small number of individuals, one or two or so, and either natural person or another enterprise that own the entity, and having one or more of the following characteristics. Correct. So this is the requirement. One, smaller, the control is in smaller number of persons, one or two probably, and having one or more of the following characteristics. One is straightforward or uncomplicated transactions. एकदम transactions जो है वो straightforward है, uncomplicated है, simple record keeping है, few lines of business है, ज़्यादा नहीं है, product और ज़्यादा line of business नहीं है. There are few internal control systems, बहुत लंबा चौड़ा internal control system और matrices नहीं है. Two level of management, only one or two level of management. There is owner and general manager and then worker and something like that. There are no 4, 5, 6 layers, something like that. One or two layer owner and then the executor, something like that. And the few personnel, many having a wide range of the duties. So there are few number of personnel and everybody is having wide number of duties. Not only one person is doing one work. He may be doing 3 work, 4 work, 5 work. So these are the smaller entities. Practical relaxation by SA 230. आपको professional judgment कब काम में लेना है, professional skepticism कब काम में लेना है. जब when you feel that not necessary, practicable to document every matter considered or professional judgment made in. जब आपको ऐसा लगता है कि यहाँ possible नहीं है कि सारी की सारी documentations को at that point of whether this can be documented or not, then you have to use your professional judgment. Whether you have to keep document with respect to this or not, this is your own judgment which you have to use. And you have to sometimes use your professional skepticism. And professional skepticism cannot be documented but demonstrated through documentation. Okay? आपने प्रॉपर डॉक्यूमेंटेशन किया है तो आपकी जो प्रोफेशनल स्किल्स हैं वो करा जाएगी. आप पूरी केयर कर रहे हो, आपको तरीका मालूम है, तरीका मालूम होने के कारण से आपने उसको डॉक्यूमेंट किया है. असेंबली ऑफ फाइनल ऑडिट फाइल. फाइनल ऑडिट फाइल क्या है, कैसे है, क्या होना चाहिए, उसमें क्या नहीं होना चाहिए. लेट अस डिस्कस विद दैट. सेट ऑफ documents as per SQC1 has to be there in the final audit file. Final audit file may be in two forms, current audit file and permanent audit file. Permanent audit file should consists of all the permanent documentations such as certificate of incorporation, memorandum and article of associations, all the licenses and one-time events, those should be there, and the annual report of every year, because that is finalized. So final documentation, it should always remain in the permanent file. And current audit file means every year the documents which you have taken, which are pertaining to the current audit period, those has to be kept. And it is required to be completed. The assembly of the final audit file has to be within a period of 60 days of completion of audit. But it is always advisable that you should be ready while you are conducting the audit. Right? And you should retain the audit file for a minimum period of 7 years from the date of auditor's report. And last is the audit documentation is the property of the auditor. No one can claim that. Company cannot claim that this is my property. Company cannot ask for the same. And if they ask, you can provide the copy. It is your choice. But they cannot pressurize you that you give them these things. So it is your property when you are conducting the audit. So friends, this was all about the SA 230. Now let us move to SA 505, which is one of the most important standards on auditing, which deals with the external confirmation, and it is applicable from 1st of April 2010. So we will discuss the scope, introduction, scope, external confirmation procedures, effective date, objectives, definitions, requirements, and applications, and other explanatory material. What is the scope of SA 505? That auditors' use of external confirmation procedure. The scope of SA includes that the auditor uses the external confirmation procedures to obtain audit evidences, and those audit evidences are in accordance with SA 330 and SA 500. So 500 audit evidences, 330 is a risk assessment. Now, however, it doesn't cover the inquiries relating to the litigation and claims. So friends, these are the 3 SA which are important when you are dealing with the external confirmation procedures to obtain the audit evidences. First is SA 500, which deals with the reliability of the audit evidences influenced by the source, nature, and depends on the circumstances under which obtained. So, audit evidences 500. 330 is whether to perform external confirmation procedure as substantive audit procedure to assess the risk. That is important. जहाँ कहीं पे भी ऐसा लग रहा है फ्रॉड वगैरह हो सकता है या फिर कुछ रिस्क है, then SA 330 is also to be kept in the mind. उसका संज्ञान लेना भी जरूरी है. And then SA 240 is specifically with respect to the fraud, that just to avoid the fraud and your external confirmation procedures may be used to obtain additional corroborating info as response to address the assessed risk of material misstatement at assertion level, which has been affirmed earlier. See, what is the auditor's objective? See, while using the external confirmation procedure. External confirmation procedures are required to be designed and performed in such a way that it gives you the relevant and reliable audit evidences which you receive from the third party. This is what is the auditor's objective for the purpose of it is being given in this essay. Here we will deal with some of the definition: external confirmation, positive confirmation request, negative confirmation request, non-response, and exceptions. What is external confirmation is audit evidence obtained as direct written response to the auditor from third party, which is a confirming party, either in the paper form or by electronic or some other medium. So this is what is the external confirmation. Then PCR and NCR, positive confirmation request and negative confirmation request. Positive confirmation request is done to the confirming party. The response is given directly to the auditor, and the expectation as to CP's response is always there, that CP will respond, always respond, and what to respond, what is expected from the CP, whether CP agrees or disagrees with the info in the request provided or requested info, the CP is required to respond on this. Whereas in case of negative confirmation request, again it is a request to confirming party, or it will be given directly to auditor. If there is a negative confirmation, then only it is required to be given. And here what is required as a response is CP disagrees with the info which is being requested. Non-response is what? Non-response, in case of positive confirmation response, if there is any failure to respond or fully respond, is known as a non-response. And also confirmation request returned undelivered is also known as the non-response. And exception, what is the exception? Exception is a response that indicates difference between info requested to be confirmed or contained in the entity's records vis-a-vis info provided by the confirming party. So हमको क्या इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए और क्या इंफॉर्मेशन confirming party ने provide किए, उसके बीच में जो difference है, that is the exception. So these are the 5 definitions which we have done. Now, what external confirmation procedure should contain and how it is to be done. So maintain the control over external confirmation request. What is required to be done is, first you need to determine info to be requested and confirmed. या हम लोगों को जानना होगा कि हमें क्या इंफॉर्मेशन मंगानी है और कौन सी इंफॉर्मेशन मंगानी है. That is what is most important. You cannot be a choosy. Correct? Normally होता है क्या है, आपको आपका क्लाइंट बोल देता है भाई डेटर्स को जो है आप लिख दो कंफर्मेशन के लिए, क्रेडिटर्स को मत लिखो आप. That is not right. The confirmation has to be from everybody. Correct? तो पहले तो ये डिसाइड करना है कंफर्मेशन आपको किसके लेने हैं, डेटर्स के, क्रेडिटर्स के, दूसरे लॉन्स एंड एडवांसेस के, वो सारे जो कंफर्मेशन लेने हैं उसके बारे में डिसाइड करना है. अच्छा, किस लेवल पे लेने हैं, तो रिक्वेस्ट भेजनी है कि भाई 5 करोड़ वाला क्लाइंट है, 50 करोड़ वाला टर्नओवर का क्लाइंट है, या 100 करोड़ वाला टर्नओवर है, 1 करोड़. तो उसमें सब में मटेरियलिटी कॉन्सेप्ट आपको लगाना है. 1 करोड़ वाले के लिए 1 लाख 2 लाख मटेरियल हो सकता है, 10 करोड़ वाले के लिए 10 लाख मटेरियल हो सकता है, 50 करोड़ वाले के लिए 50 लाख मटेरियल हो सकता है, 25 लाख मटेरियल हो सकता है, 100 करोड़ वाले के लिए और ऐसा हो. तो देन ऐसे सारे कंफर्मेशन आपको मंगाना है, वो आपको डिसाइड करने पड़ेंगे. फिर जो आपको पार्टी सेलेक्ट करनी है कंफर्मिंग पार्टी, तो आप यू कांट डिसाइड ऑन योर ओन दैट मैं खाली डेटर से ही मंगाऊंगा, मैं खाली क्रेडिटर से ही मंगाऊंगा, या मैं केवल जो है लोन्स गिवन से ही मंगाऊंगा, लोन्स टेकन से नहीं मंगाऊंगा. व्हाई आई एम टेलिंग यू, sometimes what happens, some credit parties are written off. ऐसा होता है नॉर्मली, और ऑडिटर को बता देता है क्लाइंट, भाई व्हाट इज रॉन्ग इनटू इट, if that fellow is not taking money from me, I am writing it off. Since last 4 years, that fellow is not asking for the money and the same balance is running, so I am writing it off. It means something wrong is there. Pakka, no doubt about it. The reason being, भैया आज के जमाने में एक भाई दूसरे भाई को 10,000 रुपया नहीं देता, 10,000 रुपया देता तो अपनी डायरी में नोट करके रखता है. तो 1 करोड़ का क्रेडिटर, 2 करोड़ का क्रेडिटर कैसे राइट ऑफ हो सकता है? इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. So you have to understand that. See, on one side, 2 crores fake creditors are there. On the other side, there are fake debtors or fake purchases, something like is there. So those kind of things are to be decided by you. उसके बिना कंफर्मेशन आप राइट तरीके से कर नहीं पाओगे. थर्ड पार्टी कंफर्मेशन. देन डिजाइन द कंफर्मेशन रिक्वेस्ट. आपको कैसे चाहिए उसका डिजाइन करना पड़ेगा. कंफर्मेशन रिक्वेस्ट कैसी चाहिए उसका फॉर्मेट डिजाइन करके दैट इज टू बी सेंड टू ऑल द parties from whom you are seeking the confirmation, and the confirmation has to be sent to all the parties by the client, where it is being mentioned that it is required to be directly sent to the auditor. A self-addressed envelope of the auditors is to be put inside, so it directly goes to the auditor and it doesn't come to them. That is what is required here. Otherwise होगा क्या कि जो कंफर्मेशन आप मांग रहे हैं अगर डायरेक्टली आपको नहीं आया कि दूसरी जगह चले गए तो आपको कुछ भी मालूम नहीं पड़ेगा और आपने ये प्रोसीजर फॉलो नहीं किया है. से सपोज determining the info to be requested and confirmed, selecting the parties and designing the confirmation request and sending it to them. Then it means you have not followed the SA 505. That is most important for all of us who are conducting the audit. So हमको 505 का ये पूरा प्रोसीजर फॉलो करने का जरूरत है. अगर हम प्रोसीजर फॉलो नहीं करेंगे then it will create problem. आपके पास प्रॉपर एविडेंस होना चाहिए कि आपने फॉलो किया है. Nowadays there are some software also available. With the help of those software, you can take the confirmations. The automatic reminders will be sent. Also, you can use the technology. You can ask all these confirmations on the email also, and the confirmations which are being requested by you, the management should motivate to the to their clients to confirm, maybe debtors, creditors, or loan parties, to confirm directly to the auditor. So it is very important that the external confirmation procedure should be followed by you. That will only enable you that you have followed or complied with the SA 505. When you are designing the confirmation request, तो आपको ध्यान क्या रखना है कि कौन सी party it is required to be properly addressed to the requested party, and it also contains return info for a response to be sent directly to the auditor. As I told you, properly address होना चाहिए. Return info means वापस auditor को भेजना है, उसकी सारी information उसमें होनी चाहिए. तो जब आप डिजाइन कर रहे हैं तो इस चीज का ध्यान रखना जरूरी है. दूसरा, इसमें और दूसरे इंफॉर्मेशन क्या होनी चाहिए. assertions being addressed, जो भी अफर्मिटी है जो मेरा कंफर्मेशन में मंगा रहा हूँ वो उसके बारे में इसमें कि ये मेरा बैलेंस है, आप इसको कंफर्म करो, वो उसमें प्रॉपर तरीके से एड्रेस किया हुआ होना चाहिए. अगर उसमें कोई एडजस्टमेंट है वो भी एड्रेस किया हुआ होना चाहिए. स्पेसिफिक आइडेंटिफाइड रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल स्टेटमेंट, अगर कुछ है आपको लग रहा है तो वो स्पेसिफिकली आपको मेंशन किया तो उसको प्रॉपर तरीके से आपको डिजाइन करना है. एंड हाउ टू टेक आउट द info about that, you have to properly plan it out. Layout and presentation of the request, you can use your own professional skepticism and judgment in designing that layout and presentation. उसमें आपको प्रायर एक्सपीरियंस है या पुराना कोई फॉर्मेट वगैरह है उसको रेफर कर सकते हो. उसमें चेंजेस लाना है तो अकॉर्डिंगली यू कैन make the changes for this purpose. Method of communication क्या रहेगा आपका? What kind of method of communication will be there? Whether it will be electronic, email, or physical, that you can decide on your own. Management, as I told you, management authorization and encouragement to CP, confirming party to respond to the auditor is must. That management must encourage the confirming party that they give the confirmation to the auditor. Also, you have to see that the confirming party can provide or confirm the requested info or not. That is also important for all of us. So, whether they are able or their situation is like this, that is also required to be factored while you are designing the confirmation request. पहली बार में अगर आपको confirmation नहीं आता है, तो you can repeat the request. You can resend again once, twice, or thrice, wherever you need. That can be done by you. Sometimes what happens, that the management refused to allow auditors to send the third party confirmation request. अगर ऐसा होता है, तो auditor को क्या step लेना है? What kind of step the auditor should take? If the management refuse, you ask the management कि मुझे ये 300 आदमी का, वहाँ 3000 है, उसमें से 300 आदमी जो करीबन 60% ऑफ द क्रेडिटर्स को या डेटर्स को 70% of the volume in the sense of amount, and you want the confirmation for them, you want to send them, and the management say no, I will not allow you to do that. Then आपको करना है क्या? That is a special situation for all of us, and we need to take care. हाँ, आपको प्रॉपर तरीके से मैनेजमेंट के साथ में इंक्वायरी करनी पड़ेगी कि क्या रीजंस हैं रिफ्यूजल के, वैलिड reasons and reasonableness of the reasons has to be there for refusing the request from the third party for the confirmations, because it will limit the scope of yours, and in the limited scope you have to make your inquiries. Once you have inquired with management and those charged with governance, then you need to evaluate implications of that refusal on the assessment of risk of material misstatement and nature, timing and extent of other audit procedure. जब आपको मना कर दिया है मैनेजमेंट ने, तो आपको इवेल्युएट करना पड़ेगा कि उसका अल्टीमेट इम्पैक्ट क्या हो रहा है आपकी रिपोर्टिंग पे, आपकी ओपिनियन को चेंज कर रहा है क्या, उसमें क्या रिस्क हो सकती है, क्या नहीं हो सकती है, एंड इसको आपको ऐसे 315 के नजरिए से देखना पड़ेगा. यू हैव टू सी द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ ऐसे 315 which deals with the assessing the risk of entity by knowing the entity and its environment, which helps you to find out the assessment of risk of material misstatement. And accordingly, you need to modify the audit procedures. And when you decide so, you need to perform alternative audit procedures to obtain the relevant and reliable audit evidences. अब alternative audit procedures क्या हो सकते हैं, हम कैसे करेंगे? जब मैनेजमेंट ने मना कर दिया, थर्ड पार्टी कंफर्मेशन लेना नहीं है, उसने मना कर दिया, आपने लिख लिया, डॉक्यूमेंट कर दिया, आपके लिए एक एविडेंस हो गया, तो आपके पास अल्टरनेटिव ऑडिट प्रोसीजर क्या? What kind of alternative audit procedures you have to follow? So whether those accounts are right, wrong, some adjustments are there, then you need to understand those accounts properly, do the ledger scrutiny of all those accounts, whether all purchase bills have been entered, If the purchase bills have been entered, see the payment of each purchase bill, whether all payments have been done, and the interval of all the payments and all the purchases are regular. Is there any changes? Same way sales or same way other transactions, whatever transactions are related. If there is no mismatch, then it is fine. Invoice number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ये आए हैं, उसमें से सबका पेमेंट हुआ है। 11, 12 का छोड़ के 13, 14, 15, 16 का वापस टाइम भी पेमेंट हुआ है, 11, 12 का हुआ ही नहीं है। अब 11, 12 नंबर के इनवॉइस का पेमेंट नहीं हुआ है, आपको कंफर्मेशन नहीं देने दे रहा है, मना कर दिया है मैनेजमेंट ने, तो this creates doubt. Then you ask specifically for those two things, why this has happened, what is the proof, what actions you have taken, what actions you have not taken. That is an alternative audit procedure for you. Ledger scrutiny has to be done. That is important for all of us. You have to use that. And there are various tools available nowadays for all those things. And why, after doing all these things, you will be in a position to find out that what kind of risk of material misstatement is there or not, and accordingly you will be in a position to report for the same. And this will also help you to comply with the standards on auditing. Friends, if you are not satisfied that the management refusal is unreasonable or auditor is unable to obtain relevant and reliable evidence from the alternative procedure, then you need to communicate the same thing to those charged with governance, which is the requirement, which is the requirement of which is stated in SA 260, and also determine the implications on the audit opinion as per SA 750, whether if it is too much, whether it is going to be the qualified report or disclaimer of opinion or emphasis of motor or non-qualified report. So that has to be as per SA 705, qualified, non-qualified or disclaimer of opinion. Result of ECP is also very important for all of us. हमको external confirmation procedures जो हमने adopt किए हैं, उसका ultimate result क्या है? Sufficient और audit, appropriate audit evidences generate हुए हैं या नहीं हुए हैं उसके अंदर, वो हमारे को अल्टीमेट रिजल्ट का एक शीट बनाना चाहिए। जिन जिन से हमने मंगाए थे, कितने लोगों के आए, कितने लोगों के आने के बाद में इतनों में डिफरेंसेस है, इतनों में डिफरेंस नहीं है, एक्चुअल है डिफरेंस इतनों में है, और इतने लोगों ने कंफर्म ही नहीं किया है। ये सारी चीजें हम लोगों को एक टेबुलेट करनी चाहिए और उसका इम्पैक्ट देखना चाहिए, और जहाँ हमारे को एक्सेप्शंस लग रहे हैं वहाँ इन्वेस्टिगेशन भी करना चाहिए। We need to perform the investigating techniques. So, if there is any material disconnected. So friends, I'll start again sharing this. Sorry. Charvik, just make me the host so I can share again my screen. Charvik, Bhavin, anybody is there?
Yeah, tell me, sir.
Am I audible?
Yeah, perfectly.
But I cannot share my screen. So just tell me. Just make me the host so I think I can share the screen.
Yes. Just a minute. Charvik will call you. Just a minute.
So, by that time, I'll start with my presentation, which I am having with me. I'll share you ultimately. But now, when the negative confirmation, I don't know what was the last slide which I spoke. Can you tell me? Hello? Can anyone tell me? Which was the last slide where my connection went off?
No. Screen is off, but you can audible. You are audible, sir.
हाँ आई एम ऑडिबल बट मेरी कौन सी लास्ट स्लाइड थी जिसपे मैं बोल रहा था इफ यू कैन टेल मी सो आई कैन स्टार्ट फ्रॉम व्हाट यू हैव लिसन्ड एट लास्ट समबडी कैन टेल मी और खाली सभी लोगों ने केवल ज्वाइन करके छोड़ रखा है सीपी के लिए
No sir, that is not.
ये बात नहीं
No
है।
sir, that is not case.
तो भाई मेरे को बताओ ना कौन सी स्लाइड पे मैं छूटा था
स्लाइड पता चले तो सर हम बताए स्लाइड नंबर पता नहीं है सर
नहीं लास्ट में क्या बोला था वो बता दो ना मैं स्लाइड पे मैं पहुंच जाऊंगा
The auditor is not ready to share the list or they are not allowing auditors to Yes.
Slide on external confirmation, sir. Hello.
Sir.
Yes, you are on this slide
now. Yes, we can see you now.
You can see, but this was my last slide.
Yes, this was your last slide, sir.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So perfectly fine. So when the negative confirmation has come, we see normally what happens in the case of negative confirmation. These are the less persuasive audit evidence than the positive confirmations. And these negative confirmation requests are not to be used as the sole and substantive audit procedures to assess risk of material misstatement. Because these are not going to help you to find out the risk of material misstatement and you need to further investigate when there are some negative confirmation requests which have been received by you. Now, as far as evaluating the evidence obtained, we have discussed कि हमारे को एक tabular form में बनाना पड़ेगा agreements by confirming party, response deemed unreliable, non-response and response indicating exceptions, and accordingly we have to come on the conclusion whether the third party confirmation which have been received by us are the right or wrong, and what is going to be the effect of the third party confirmation on our reporting and on our conclusion. So friends, this was all about the third party confirmations, external confirmations. We need to understand that we need to follow third party confirmation. Normally होता क्या अभी I'll give you an example. Since I am part of the disciplinary also, I am a member of board of discipline. So हमारे सामने case आते हैं, and when the case comes, what normally happens, there are sales of crores of rupees, there are purchase of crores of rupees. The balance confirmations has been sent. Neither sales party have confirmed, not purchase party have confirmed. And there is a EOW inquiry, and EOW has sent that the auditor has not done this, and no confirmation is there. Because उन्होंने इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंस विंग ने कंफर्मेशन दोनों से मंगवाया और दोनों ने कोई रिस्पांस नहीं भेजा. दोनों ने नहीं रिस्पांस भेजने का रीजन आप समझ गए होंगे कि इट वाज a turnover which was not real. Also डिसिप्लिनरी में ऐसा केस आया, and neither purchase party nor sales party has confirmed. Then in that case the auditor was questioned, so what procedure you have followed? Have you sent them the confirmation? Have they replied you? Auditor has not sent any confirmation request to them and has not followed SA 505, and it has created problem to him. Now, if this kind of case comes to you also, you have sent, let us understand that you have sent the confirmation. You are the auditor, and all these kind of transaction has taken place. You are not knowing about these kind of transactions. Your client has done. Somebody else may have advised for the purpose of 20% of the working capital loan from the bank or so. Then in that case what happens कि आपके पास न डेटर्स के कंफर्मेशन है, न क्रेडिट परचेज पार्टी के कंफर्मेशन है, न सेल्स पार्टी के कंफर्मेशन है. आपने भेज तो दिए, आपको किसी ने नहीं भेजा, तो अभी आपका नेक्स्ट स्टेप क्या? आपने ऐसे को कंप्लाई करने का पहला स्टेप पूरा कर लिया, लेकिन आपको सफिशिएंट अप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस जनरेट करने, दोनों ने कंफर्मेशन नहीं भेजा, एक स्टेप किया आपने, लेकिन अब नेक्स्ट स्टेप क्या? ऐसे 505 तो कंप्लाई कर लिया, आपने भेज दिया, आपके पास कंफर्मेशन नहीं आया है. इट डजंट मीन कि आप लिख दो सब्जेक्ट टू कंफर्मेशन, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं लिख सकते. तो नेक्स्ट स्टेप यू हैव टू अप्लाई इज द स्टेप व्हिच आई टोल्ड यू कि आप लेजर स्क्रूटनी करिए, आप उन पार्टीज के बारे में पता लगाइए, गूगल करिए, गूगल करके वहां पे वो पार्टी है या नहीं है, किसी दूसरे आपके रिसोर्स हैं उसके थ्रू पता लगाने की कोशिश करिए. इफ यू do all 2-3 things, and then you will come to know that these parties were the fake parties. Only adjustments were done, and then you have to bring it to the knowledge of the management and those charged with governance as required by SA 260, and you have to discuss all these with them and give your opinion accordingly as required by SA 705 or so, if it is impacting a lot on the financial statement prepared by the client. So this is what is required to be kept by you in your mind जब आप SA 505 का compliance देख रहे हैं for the purpose of audit. Now let us move ahead with the SA 580. That is a written representation. Very important essay for all of us. लेकिन SA 580 में normally होता क्या है और SA 580 कैसे हमको help करता है, कैसे और हमें और क्या precautions लेनी चाहिए, what kind of other precautions we need to take when we are dealing with the SA 580. This is applicable from April 1st, 2009. We will be dealing all these things with respect to the scope, written representations as audit evidence. Effective date is 1st April 2009. What is the objective? What are the definitions, requirement, management from whom WR is requested, WR about management's responsibility, other WRs, date and periods covered by WR, form of WR, what should be the form of WR, and doubt as to reliability of WR, requested WR not provided, application and other explanatory material. These we are going to discuss today. As far as SA 580 is concerned, written representation is concerned. Normally, जो हमारे मन में धारणा है, which normally we understand, we take a management representation letter while conducting the audit. And we feel that management representation letter is absolving all our responsibilities and we are not at risk. It is not the case. So what is the scope of this essay? It is the auditor's responsibility to obtain a written representation from management or those charged with the government. Management is top management and those charged governance means a specific person of specific work, specific in charge of specific work. Suppose somebody, this says, general manager says, so he'll give you the details about the sales. He is the person charged with the government. Purchase head charged with the purchase. Production head is the person who is charged with the production related representations. All these are to be taken care by you. So those charged with governance means a person who is responsible for that particular work. Written representation as audit evidence. WR are necessary audit evidence, but not sufficient appropriate audit evidence. It is necessary, but it is not sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. हम लेते हैं वो फाइन है, लेकिन ये पूरा नहीं है हमारे लिए. On the basis of that written representation, wherever it is required, we need to further take the other evidence and documents in our file. WR do not dilute auditor's responsibility to obtain other audit evidence for matters covered by WR. So as I told you that our responsibility will not be absorbed by taking only these WR. We need to further strengthen the documents and evidence in our audit file for the items which are stated in the WR. It will help you out. Let us take an example of the normally hota hai kya? Cash verification, physical stock verification, right? And the physical asset verification. We take the representation that it has been done by the manager. See, that is not going to make us free from our responsibility. It is not right. Which is the professional judgment and professional skepticism too. That while conducting the audit, you are part of the physical stock taking or physical case verification. आपने फिजिकल कैश वेरिफिकेशन किया लास्ट डे पे 50,000 रुपया बैलेंस है 50,000 रुपीज on 31st March. On 28th March also, balance is of 59,000 or 58,000 or whatever it is. But on 29th of March, you have withdrawn case. The company has withdrawn case of 10,000 rupees to make some payment. And that 10,000 has been paid. That is, so 50,000 balance on 28th of March, 31st of March, 50,000 balance. 10,000 has been withdrawn and 10,000 has been paid. So that balance was a fictitious balance. There was no case balance, but the books were showing the balance. So you are not doing the work in a way which is required to be done. Same way with respect to the inventory verification. Friends, let me tell you one important thing here. Next year आपको कारों रिपोर्ट करना है. इस साल से एप्लीकेबल होने वाला था, कोरोना आ गया, कारों पोस्टपोन हो गई. तो नेक्स्ट ईयर कारों मार्च 21 एंडिंग पे जो कारों की रिपोर्टिंग हो गया. Earlier also physical verification was there, but we were mentioning that it has not been done by us or it is done by them. And this the things have been taken care of by the management. Any material discrepancy is there, that has been taken care of. वो लिख के हम काम चला रहे थे. But in the next year, in Caro, there is a requirement that every quarter physical stock submitted to the bank and physical stock in the books of accounts of the company has to be sent, and that is required to be certified by the auditor. That is going to create a lot of challenges. So you have to be very careful. लोग बात बुक्स में बैलेंस नहीं है स्टॉक का, लेकिन स्टॉक दिखाते थे और बैंक फाइनेंस को आगे बढ़ाते जाते थे. That was also a problem. और पहले बिजनेस के पहले 2-3 सालों में स्टॉक टर्नओवर 1 महीना था, फिर 2 महीना हुआ, फिर 5 महीना हुआ, फिर 9 महीना हुआ, फिर 10 महीना हुआ. स्टॉक टर्नओवर रेशियो, and that has created problem. पड़ा हुआ स्टॉक टर्नओवर ही नहीं हो रहा, and that has ultimately made the account NP. So somewhere we professional are also responsible for all those kind of. So next year, my dear friends and professional colleagues, be careful that the stock statement submitted to the bank and stock shown in the books matches pie to pie and piece to piece. Otherwise, you will be into trouble. That is for sure. So keep this thing in your mind. Same way, case also. When forensic takes place, as I told you, 50,000 was there on 28th March and 50,000 was there on 31st March. And on 29th March, the 10,000 was withdrawn and paid case. Means that was a fictitious balance. That money has been withdrawn and given to somebody else. There is no balance in fact. That is what is shown over there. So that care has to be taken by you, that the money is not siphoned off. and there is no fraud kind of thing. This is a 50,000 example I had given. Sometimes it may be 50 lakhs or 5 crore cash balance if the size is big of the company, and you never know that out of 5 crore, how much is there and how much has gone to somebody's pocket. So that care has to be taken by you. Management modifies or doesn't provide the requested written representations, possibility of existence of one or more significant issues. Sometimes, as if they refuse it, then what will happen? We will discuss this. See, what is the objective, auditors? It supports the auditors as an audit evidence. The WR supports the auditors as an audit evidence. This is taken from the management or those charged with governance, which will fulfill their responsibilities regarding preparation of financial statement and completeness of info, which is provided to the auditor. And auditor accordingly appropriately respond to management and those charged with governance or refusal if the management and those charged with governance has refused to provide the WR. So this is the objective, that it will become the audit evidence and it will support the audit evidence. Definitions. What is written representation? Written representation is a statement made by the management, those charged with governance, provided to the auditor to confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence, which doesn't include the financial statement, the assertions therein, and supporting books and reports. So ये तीन चीजें इंक्लूड नहीं है, बाकी सारी चीजें उसमें इंक्लूडेड है. Management from whom the written representation is requested. Management with appropriate responsibility for the financial statement, who are responsible for making the financial statement, and with those people who are concerned with the matters and having the knowledge of the matters which are required to be reported in the financial statement, who are known as the responsible party. It will depend on the governance structures of the entity and relevant law and situation. Sufficient knowledge of financial reporting process. Those charged with governance may also be responsible for preparation and presentation of financial statement. Management may approach relevant experts, actuaries, internal counsel and staff and engineers. So आपको जो written representations बनाने हैं उसमें management may take the help of actuaries also. जब हमारे को actuarial valuation लेना है as per S15, then the internal counsel or engineers are there. We can take the feedback from them also and written representation from them also with respect to the specific requirement which they are looking out. So that will also help us in creating the documentation and audit evidence in our file, which will be in the form of the written representation. Management's use of to the best of knowledge and belief in is acceptable. If they write, management write like this, to the best of knowledge and belief, then it is acceptable as per SA 580. It will be considered like that. Auditors may request management to include in the written representation confirmation that it has made such inquiry that it considered appropriate. That we have asked for certain informations, and on the basis of certain inquiries and informations management has given us. So auditor may ask this to the management to mention in the WR. What is the management's responsibility with respect to the WR? Preparation of the financial statement has to be in compliance with the applicable financial reporting framework, and accordingly, if it is on the basis of financial reporting framework, normally in India, it is Ind AS and AS for the corporate world. Which is applicable to what, and on the basis of that, it is being made or not. And as far as the insurance companies are there, banking companies are there, and some other companies are there to which the separate financial reporting standards and frameworks are applicable, then those are to be complied with. That has to be taken care of by the management. It is their responsibility. Information provided and completeness of transaction, that they have provided all the relevant informations and access as agreed in terms of audit engagement. हमारे लिए सबसे important क्या है कि हम जब auditor appoint होते हैं, then at that point of time we need to exchange certain documents. When they send us the that you have been appointed as auditor, we send them the acceptance letter. With the acceptance letter, we must send the audit engagement letters. And in the audit engagement letters, what is required to be mentioned by us is that these are going to be our responsibility and these are going to be your responsibilities. We will be conducting audit on the basis of these things, and we will be requiring these things, and you will be providing these things, and you will be preparing these things. That kind of audit engagement letter should be provided by us. That will help us. And that will be a proof for our audit purpose too in our audit file. All transactions recorded and reflected in financial statement, the completeness of those transactions are to be provided, information and completeness. Descriptions of management's responsibilities in the WR is required to be provided. And what can be the other written representations? Additional written representations can be with respect to the financial statement. It can be with respect to the selection and application of accounting policies. Separate written representations can be there. Recognition and measurement and presentations. Disclosure in the financial statement in accordance with the FRF. जो भी है financial reporting framework, उसके अनुसार है आपके accounts. Those can be taken. What is the carrying value of the assets? Carrying cost of the assets, that is required to be calculated and given separately. Is there any contingent liabilities, other liabilities, and if any WR is required with respect to that, that can be taken. Title and control over the assets, whether title is in the name of the company or somebody else, and the company having control, but the title is in the name of somebody else. That is WR is needed for that. In the case of financial statement, it can be taken. And compliance with the other law and regulation is also required to be taken in a WR form. Then, when all these informations are provided, the auditor need to discuss with the management about all those things, and where specific assertions have been made. The management intentions and judgment are taken. Then the auditors need to inquire with them that what is the deficiency in the internal control, and what are how these are operating effectively. That is a communication required from the auditors to the management and those charged with governance. And if there is any non-compliance with respect to the operating effectiveness of the internal control system, then how that deficiency is mitigated or is going to be mitigated, a written representation is required to be taken from them. If you comes to know about that ineffectiveness of the operating system for the internal control. What should be the date and periods covered by the written representations? It should be near to the auditor's report, date of the auditor's report. It should not be after the date of the auditor's report. It should be as practicable as near to the auditor's report date. For all financial statement and periods referred to in auditor's report, this is to be taken. Change in the management. Say suppose also doesn't diminish the responsibility for the financial statement as a whole, and the auditor can request from new management also the written representation that cover the whole of the relevant periods. So suppose last 3 months में अगर management change हो गया है, 9 महीने कोई और था, last के 3 months में दूसरा है, पुराना management जा चुका है, then also it is required that the new management has to give the representation letter, written representations to the auditor as desired by the auditor. Representation letter is normally addressed to the auditors. Written public statement about management's responsibility if required by law and regulations. It will include all the matters covered in terms of audit engagements made by the person from whom the auditors requested to give the WR, and copies provided to auditors before or near the date of audit report. The auditor need to consider these factors while asking for the written representation from the management or those charged with the governance. Expression of management's responsibility and law and regulations, not a substitute for the requested WR. That is what is important here. जो भी लॉ एंड रेगुलेशंस के रिक्वायरमेंट है वो तो आपको पूरी करनी ही करनी पड़ेगी. The WR is not a substitute for that. If there is any doubt on the reliability of written representations, then what is to be done? Concern are to be raised to the regarding the management's and integrity and competence is to be seen by you. Then when you have seen and evaluated all these, you need to determine the effect of all this on the written and the written representations on the financial statement based on the audit evidences. What is the effect of all these things? And if those charged with governance take the corrective action, then fine. If no corrective actions, then withdraw from the assignment. Don't do the audit. Say that I am withdrawing from the audit. But you should not issue the clean report. You should, when these kind of things happen, WR is inconsistent with the other audit evidence, then the further audit evidence and procedures, further audit procedures are to be applied to resolve the inconsistency. And for that, you need to consider the management's competence and integrity, adequacy of risk assessment, and determine the effect on the reliability of WR. And if you are satisfied with all these things, then fine. And if you are not satisfied, then you cannot give the clean report. You need to give the qualified report. Requested WR not provided. Discuss if the requested WR are not provided to you, then you need to discuss the same with the management you need to re-evaluate the integrity of the management, evaluate the effect on the reliability of the representation and audit evidences. ये 3 चीजें आपको करनी पड़ेगी. आपने 25 पॉइंट लिख के दिए हैं कि हमको इस पे आपका रिप्रेजेंटेशन चाहिए. उसमें से आपको 15 पॉइंट पे उन्होंने क्लेरिफाई कर दिया, 10 पॉइंट पे क्लेरिफाई नहीं किया, रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं दिया, और दे आर अवॉइडिंग इट, दे आर डिनाइंग इट. Then you need to discuss the same with the management, and on the basis of the discussion you need to re-evaluate the integrity of the management. Whether they are hiding something, they do not want to disclose something which is creating problem to the company as well as to the auditor also and owner also, and evaluate the effect on the reliability of the representation and audit evidence. कि जो उसका effect ultimately होने वाला क्या है audit evidence पे, how it is going to affect your conclusion which you are going to report, that is to be evaluated by, and thereafter take the appropriate action, which is including determining the possible effect on the audit opinion, as I told you. The disclaimer of opinion if sufficient doubt about the integrity of management such that the written representation with respect to following aspects are not reliable. Preparation and financial presentation of financial statement and info to be provided to the auditor. Then the disclaimer of opinion has to be there. In these two cases, if it is not there, it is not reliable, then the disclaimer of opinion has to be given by the auditor. They should not give the clean report. There has to be a disclaimer of opinion. Management doesn't provide WR for above aspect, as I told you, then it has to be there. So friends, with this, I have dealt with the all 3 standards which are the important one, and there are many other standards which are required to be taken care of, especially is 260, that is with respect to the law and regulations, compliance with the law and regulations, 250, sorry. Then 570, going concern, this COVID impact as well. See, let us take for the going concern one example. There is a company which have been issued notice, which is a chemical manufacturing company, and there is no effluent treatment plant. There is a notice that they have to have the effluent treatment plant installed, which is costing 2 crores of rupees. The plant is of 10 crores of rupees or 20 crores of rupees, and 2 crores rupees further to be invested. Plant was running in losses. There are carry forward losses, scarcity of funds, and company got, now they are running fairly well. They are at par, break-even point or something like that. Earlier they were into losses, no money, and company gets a notice that you have to install, otherwise your factory will be closed in another 6 months. You are not seeing anything that there the money can come from any resource. Your account is already NPA. You are just managing the things. Then what? Still you are reporting it is going concern. It's a big challenge. So the care has to be taken by you, whether it is required to be reported as the going concern or not. You need to understand. Likewise, compliance with the law and regulations. Normally, take an example of bonus. Bonus Act. In case of no profit or loss or less profit, you have to give 8.33%, 1 month salary. And in case there is good amount of profit, the bonus may range up to 20% of the profit. And in certain things, you have to calculate. There is a specified calculation. And if the bonus is not given according to that, then it's a non-compliance of that particular law. And you are not complying with the standard 250. This is non-compliance of other law and regulations. So all these standards on auditing are to be taken care of. These are small things which are to be taken care of by us. If we do not take care of all these things, it will create. So I thought कि हम जो जनरल में छोटी मिस्टेक्स कर देते हैं, ध्यान नहीं दे पाते हैं, उन छोटे मिस्टेक को हमें कैसे ध्यान देना है, वो छोटी मिस्टेक पे हम अगर ध्यान देंगे तो हम इन स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिट को हमारा कवच बना पाएंगे एंड हम अपने आप को सेव कर पाएंगे. लेकिन हमने अगर स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिट के हिसाब से डॉक्यूमेंटेशन और एविडेंसेस हमारे पास में नहीं रखे तो हमारे लिए कोई सुरक्षा की शील्ड नहीं होगी, कवच नहीं होगा, and there will be lot of trouble to all of us. So friends, we need to follow all these standards on auditing. With this, I share this particular call to all of you. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves, which is said by Viktor E. Frank, and I am firm believer of this. If I cannot change the situation, I must accept that challenge and I change myself. And that is what is being done by the chartered accountant. We are every day learning new things and we are changing ourselves according to that. We are doing audit every year with some new amendments and certain new compliances. When we can take these kind of challenges, then why we cannot take the challenge of complying with all the standards on auditing? So friends, at last, let me tell you that if we comply with all standards on audit, if our audit is best and is a combination of quality and ethics, then I think we will be doing the justice and nobody will be able to raise finger on us. We will be in a position to fly our flag at the new heights. That is going to help the profession at large. With this, thank you all, my friends, for giving me a patient listening. And if you have any questions, I'll reply to all those questions. Thank you all.
Thank you, Durgesh, sir. Anyone have a question, please directly. We have a time. I think so, no question. So thank you, CA Durgesh sir. Due to regular amendment in provision, this is lot of pressure on the SSC to follow all the compliances and also on the chartered accountant to professionally verify all that compliances was compiled. But due to there is education, professional education barrier, SSC mostly depend on the chartered accountant to follow all the regular compliances to be properly followed. Durgesh sir, we as a CA all want to verify all the professional data, but we know that most of clients give their data near to the last month. So there is a barrier on behalf of the chartered accountants to verify all the data. Yes, you are right, sir. For the documentation part, we have to compile all the documents. But as you know that client hamesha last mein hi aata hai. So it's okay, that may go on. But today's session, Durgesh sir, a senior chartered accountant practicing for last 30 years, has given a wonderful guidelines of standard on auditing to follow, how documentation to cover up, how the management to talk, how the work to be done by the management to compile all the compliances. That will improve the betterment of quality of the auditing. Thank you, Durgesh sir, for everything. Once again, on behalf of all the members, I hereby uh, thanking CA Durgesh sir for this wonderful presentation and organized by the Ghatkopar CA Study Circle. Thank you, sir, and thank you all members. Be a good listener and the learner. Before the close of today's session, one announcement is there. We have a next meeting on next Saturday, 17th, by CA Mehul Shah on topic of changes in 3CV, the income tax audit report. Once again, thank you all. Astu. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and feel free for any clarification in future. Also, you can write me a mail directly if you need any clarifications. Thank you. Anyway.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.